Welcome into another episode of the podcast. This one I am super excited about, mainly because I've only ever done part 2s twice. This is the third time. The first one was with Lawrence Malone, second one with Andy. So I feel like this is a very fitting, like I kind of, what's the title of the group chat just now?
The Triumvirate.
Yeah. I could never pronounce that, bro, in a million years.
I don't think I'm pronouncing it right either, but it's along the right lines, but it's the same idea, mate.
Yeah, but we've known each other, mate, for like, 4 or 5 years now.
Oh.
Like, you were one of the episodes when I think back, thinking this episode's going to be fucking nuts. Like, I couldn't believe that you were coming on. I was so buzzing. And now we've been best mates pretty much for 3 years is pretty much the window. May 2022 was when we actually shot it, which is April fucking 2025 right now, which is fucked. Yeah. So... what's happened in 3 years, bro?
Wow, mate, unbelievable. I mean, I was just saying to you there off camera about the kind of things that I track in the terms of like achievements and experiences every single year. And I just had a quick glance at it there and it's like, mate, a lot in terms of both within business, personal life. I mean, you even look at the past 6 months for me, mate, how much things have accelerated. Have been pretty wild, especially with what's going on kind of now in a really exciting stage of my life. But yeah, mate, always been very good. So fucking grateful for every aspect of it over the past 3 years.
Yeah. It's been fucking nuts, mate. I think that if we start from a business perspective, obviously, I think when you were on before, you would have been a PT.
Mm-hmm.
You've evolved from a PT to an online coach.
Mm-hmm.
Then from online coach into a new part of your journey as well, which I'm sure we'll speak on at some point. But I even think back to some of because you were one of the first like founding members, so there's quite a lot of very intimate conversations that we would have had back then where I remember even when you were a PT, it was like you had no interest in being an online coach.
Mm-hmm.
You had no interest. You kind of had a bit of an interest in opening a gym, to be fair. That was one of your potential ventures. You did explore it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if you had any interest in traveling during that time.
Very much like it was pushed to the back of my head. Always I wanted to do that for years, but I just never believed that because I couldn't, because I had like if I didn't work, I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
So it was like, I'll never be able to do that until I could.
What changed for you in terms of like from PT to online coach to we'll start with that kind of journey just now.
So obviously with personal training, the way that I worked, the gym that I worked out of was based on an hourly rate, which I could have made pretty good money, which I did at one point, but it got to the stage where I was like, right, if I want to make more money, I just have to work more and more hours, which of course, as you know, mate, is no way to run a business. So I felt like I had a ton of value to give, but personal training wasn't the way to do it, especially based on an hourly rate. Now, you can go about personal training in different ways. You can set up your service differently. You can charge monthly. You can do all these things, which I explored with potentially opening a gym at one point. But then just the way things aligned, I went into the online coaching world, which I was very close-minded to in the beginning. Like, I think you'll remember and things. I remember Judo saying to me, like, mate, why are you not doing online coaching? Oh, because it's not going to work. He's like, mate, of course it's going to work. And then eventually I came around to it. And it was just when I got to the stage, I was like, right, I know I have the business acumen. I know I have the value to give. I need to go for this because I can't spend the rest of my life. Like, I felt like I was almost trapping my own potential because I was like, you're working in a gym. Yes, you're providing a ton of value. Yes, you've got a great reputation. You're getting great results. But I was still stuck within that. And I felt like I couldn't get out of that until obviously I took the transition, which of course, that was still a year. Like I launched my online coaching business, done personal training at the same time. And then when it came to it, I decided to go all in with online coaching.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing, so if we just unpack that one component, you said like an hourly rate, that was based on an agreement with the guy that was running it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you just unpack that, just so that in case anyone's maybe a PT or in that kind of space where they think that they can just dictate hours, for a lot of them probably could, but you had a very unique agreement, didn't you, with this?
Well, it was just the gym that I worked based off of, we all had to charge the same rate. So it was like we all had to charge the same rate, we had to do the same things. Now I was totally free in terms of like when I worked, how many clients, what clients. Obviously I had to take on all my own clients. When I first started working at that gym, they were really good with me in terms of helping me get my first few clients, which was great. But then I got to the stage where I could get all my own clients, which obviously was good from there. But the thing that held me back was the fact that we had to charge this set hourly rate. So it was quite, kind of old-fashioned, I suppose, way of approaching it. And then obviously to modernise it, just online was the most scalable option for me, especially when I started to have the thought of wanting to build a business that gave me the type of life that I wanted to live. Because I was like, right, yeah, okay, I can make good money doing personal training, but I can barely ever go on holiday. Every time I went on holiday, I felt like I was just like, I couldn't make money when I was away. I just didn't like it, man. So something had to change.
Was that the main thing that you were not getting from your life back then?
Yeah, it was that. It was the freedom aspect and it was the scalability aspect.
Yeah.
Like, because I remember every time I would come into the Young and Lazy like focus groups and everything like that, and some of the wins that I would see from like the online coaches in terms of whether it be cash collected or monthly recurring revenue. And based off the payment model I was on, I didn't have any recurring revenue. Like if I didn't work in the gym, I wasn't getting paid. If clients were off and weren't paying blocks, whatever, like it just wasn't a proper business to me.
In the hours that you were doing during that time, I remember it was like 40 to 50 hours pretty much every morning and every evening.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were then doing everything in between, in the middle. It just seemed like, from even knowing you, I remember speaking to Andy, I was like, how do we get Conor to do online coaching? It beyond, like, when you started to recognise it as an opportunity, it was like, well, how do we help Conor kind of scale beyond this point? And you were almost like so trapped from a time perspective that how did you go do that transition? Because I know you wanted a set monthly recurring before you transitioned as well.
Exactly. So it came to the point where, obviously, see, if I didn't have the groups, like the focus groups every single week, or at the time it was the pathway group, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have navigated that, because it was the point where I had to reduce the number of hours. So I literally had to say, like, right, I'm either going to reduce the number of clients I take on, or just if a client leaves, I'm not taking on any more clients. But then my lifetime value with clients at the time was very good. Like if a client came to me for personal training, the likelihood is they stayed with me for a long time.
Yep.
So for me then, I was like, right, well, I'm not going to ask them to leave or whatever. So it was just whenever I did get that time, promising myself not to take on any more clients, and then put that time into building, obviously, the online coaching business. At the time, I was doing it on a Sunday. So like my weekly upgrades, which is essentially where my clients check in with me for the week. I review their training, their nutrition, their self-improvement habits. They plan their week ahead. They review the week that's just been. It's a big day for me in terms of sending them their feedback. That was always on a Sunday. So I'd work in the gym Monday to Friday. Saturday, I would do some work in the morning. Then Sunday would be like a full day of online coaching work. So I was just like squeezing it into whatever time I had, because I did have time. It was just making it.
What was it's interesting because actually before I asked that, one of the things that, remembering back to speak to Andy, it was like, we need to make this logical for Conor. There needs to be a hours out, hours in, cash out, cash in order for him to get to an inflection point where he can make the jump. And it was interesting because during that time you had almost like threw yourself further into the deep end. You got a house, you took on a mortgage, you took on further commitments that, I remember when you done that, I remember chatting to Andy and just thinking, that's him like laid down the flag, put on the flag. It was just like, I'm going to stay in Lanark, I'm going to continue to be a PT, or I'm going to try and get a gym. It was like, that was like the flag. And then literally like, what, 6 months later? Nine months later.
9 months later, everything changed.
What changed during that time frame, bro?
Everything, brother, everything. So, I mean, that was, like I'm saying, like the past 6 months to a year of my life is the biggest changes I've ever made. I've spoke about this in the podcast. It's like there's 3 decisions we can make in life which have the biggest impact on us. It's what we do for a living, where we choose to live, and who we choose to marry, our spouse, our life partner. I changed all of those in a matter of 6 months. So for me, it was, I mean, looking back now, it's the best thing I've ever done. All of those changes have led to where I am today. And I did know that. I knew at the time it would be. But obviously there's a period you have to navigate where it's like, shit. Like, got a lot of things that I need to sort out here. But yeah, so that was it. Those were the 3 big decisions. So obviously I took on, I had a long-term girlfriend at the time. We had a flat together. I had a well-paying job, like personal trainer. I made good money. Was getting clients good results, had a good reputation. So I essentially had everything that you could want, but it just wasn't everything that I did want in the sense of long-term. And I thought of like, this is when the values thing really came in for me. When I looked at my values in life, and I'm like, right, what are the things that I value most? How much time am I spending doing those things? And like, just for example, the 3 core values of mine that have laid out have been self-improvement for one, so that encompasses fitness in there. Business being the other one, is particularly with building in the sense of business, getting people great results. And then the other one is travel. And I was like, right, well, with this being a personal trainer, I can't travel as much as I'd like to. My business that I'm in right now, I can't scale. And it's like, and then obviously everything else as well. And I was getting to the stage where I was like, this isn't really what you want. And I knew for a fact, see, if I didn't change it then, I would be comfortable and I'd live in that way for the rest of my life. And I knew that wasn't the life that I wanted, so made the change.
That's what I was fearful of when you actually put the flag down. I remember saying to Andy, thinking like, obviously on a friendship level, it's like you're committing to that. Like that's where Conor's going to be for the foreseeable until he wants to make a big change. And also from a client-based perspective, it's like any client we have on board, we want to continue to push them forward. And it felt like you were at your peak, I guess, on that side of things. What I was curious, see from the values perspective, what's kind of process you would go through to uncover your values if someone's not done it before?
So the process that I went through was John DeMartini's value determination process, which is, for anybody that doesn't know, it's essentially 13 questions that you can run through. Within those 13 questions, you outline there's going to be consistent answers in there, and whatever those consistent answers are, there's a very good chance that those are your highest values in life. Now, it helps if you go through the process with someone, especially a coach, for example, because it's not always easy. Like, one of the questions is like, how do you fill your personal space? And some people get confused by that. Like, what do you mean? It's like, well, if you have an office, what's in your office? And your room, what's in your room? And some people will give very surface level answers, but if you're coached through it and you're encouraged to dig deeper, then you might be like, oh, right, okay, I see, I get what that means. And then you get deeper answers. If you get deeper answers, then you get better results.
What were some, maybe just a couple of questions in your answers, out of curiosity?
A couple of my answers that came up.
Well, the questions as well.
The questions. So, I mean, one of the questions that isn't part of the value determination process, but it's one that I encourage people to do heavily, is just the simple one of like, what don't you want in life? So when I got to, especially what I was talking about there, it's like, right, do you want to live a very average life, in the sense of like, do you want to settle down in this area, specifically with like Lanark? It's like, do you actually see, when I realised that when I bought the flat, when I'd done all these things, I'm like, holy shit, do you want to live here? Like, is this what you want?
Yep.
I'm like, right, what are the things that you don't want? I'm like, well, I don't want to live in a town that's filled with like narrow-minded, pessimistic people. I'm like, holy shit, you've just done that. You just signed the dotted line. So that was one thing. I was like, right, okay, well, what do you want then? And obviously the one common answer for me was traveling. I wanted to see different parts of the world. So my job had to enable that. So it's like, right, well, being a personal trainer doesn't enable that. However, I can still use my skill sets and my knowledge and transition that online, and I can create a fantastic service which would allow me to both travel and provide value. Because that's a huge part of it. It's like, I don't want to just have money and travel. I want to have money, and travel, but also provide a huge amount of value and have a huge amount of impact on people's lives. Like, when I was away, like for example in Thailand, which we'll get to, I was working every day. Like, I don't want to just go and sit on a beach all day. I have no interest in that. I want to be in a beautiful place. I want to explore beautiful places, but I also want to be building something at the same time.
That makes sense, mate. Because I think it's something as well, like when you think about what do you not want, it's actually interesting when I've done the values factor, because I've done it a few times just to see how my values are changing. Because one of the things I've recognised is that obviously there's a part in the book where it explains the fact that you value the things that you did not have as a kid as you grow older. What I've also realised is that there's actual seasons in business where you value things at different times. So for me, like, I always wanted a coaching business, I always wanted to be able to help your entrepreneurs, I always wanted pretty much what I've got right now. But there was a time, like at the start of the year, where I felt like I didn't have anything I didn't have anything I wanted. And it wasn't until I'd done that when I started to answer some of the questions, I remember one of the answers I wrote down at the time must just been the state that I was in at the time. But I was like, I want a business where I can it's just done for you. I don't need to fucking worry about like somebody else implementing what I like communicate to them that they should. So I just want to fucking grab it with both hands. And it's like, I would have never valued that if I haven't went 5 years, 6 years running this thing just now it's done with you. And I realised as well how much your values change from that perspective, because you grow to want things that you didn't previously had. Mate,
100%. I'm 26, right? But see, if you'd asked me 2 years ago about like what I value, I tell you one thing that wouldn't have came up. It would have been, this sounds harsh, but it would have been family. And what I mean by that is in the sense of starting my own. Like, I've always wanted to, but see, right now I'm getting to the stage where I'm really thinking about it. Not in the sense of I'm going to have kids in 6 months and whatever. I mean, that'd be pretty hard because you need to, but you get the gist. I'm really starting to think forward now and being like, I do want this. Like, what do I truly want from my life partner? What type of family do I want to raise? Where do I want to live with them? And that's then impacting business. It's like, okay, well, if I want to have this family, then Christ, I'm going to have to sustain that. So both financially, like, you have to think of that. Emotionally, how do I want to be as a partner, as a father one day? All these things are really coming front of mind to me just now. And I think it was maybe the past year that it started coming up. I can't explain why, but they did. And I think about it a lot, man. So I'm not saying it's my highest value yet. Obviously, a few things have to happen first, but I know for a fact that is changing and I'm valuing it way more. It's interesting because I've been the exact same. I think we spoke about it a couple of times recently. It's like, but I can't put my finger on what's changed. Because for me, not a lot's actually changed. Like, I'm still, Beck's been together like 5.5 years, 6 years. It's like, nothing's really changed on that time period apart from both of us just developing. And maybe we've developed even further for it to make more sense now. But it's like, I don't know if it's just an age thing as well. I don't know what that is, to be fair. I think it'd just be maturity, mate. Like, you think of from a evolutionary standpoint, like, obviously we are kind of ingrained into us to have children, to reproduce, to pass down our genes. So there must be something that's ingrained you at some stage where your body's almost like a a ticking time bomb. It's like, right, I mean, we're nowhere near that yet, but it would make sense why as you age and you become more mature that you do look at these things. I think it's just a natural process, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. One of the things I'm curious about that I've written down, and I said this to you when we went for Malone Carter before we went to Thailand. How did you develop the courage to like go back on the decisions that you did make?
It's a good question, man. I mean, a lot of the decisions that I made were things that I'd thought about for a long period of time. And courage is the right word, by the way, because when I've done obviously a lot of journaling on it and why I'd done what I'd done and made certain decisions and whatnot. And it's coming back to just, I suppose, I mean, the values thing helped a lot. It was getting to the stage for me where I was like, it's now or never almost. It's like you could be incredibly comfortable or you could make this decision. I mean, there were probably certain things that happened in my life that it showed me that I kind of could have lived another type of life. So, yeah, but I mean, you're right in saying courage is exactly what it was, because like courage is acting in the face of like pain or fear or grief and all of these things. And there was elements of fear for me. Of course there is, because you could lose a lot and you could potentially regret things. So, yeah, I mean, there was a few things that probably lined up, but the values thing helped a lot.
Yeah, because when I'm thinking about it as well, it's like one of the questions Lawrence always asks me is like, what is the actual worst that could happen? Like, what is the actual worst case scenario upon making said decision? And when I think about labeling it as courage more than anything else, is like you made a further commitment. You decided not to make that decision 9 months prior when you didn't put the flag in the sand, commit to a house, etc. And almost like making that decision in 9 months later, or however the time frame was, you know, it's something that like you had to pick up even further courage than what you would have if you just made the decision prior.
For sure.
And I remember you saying to me, so like your dad was like, "You're a fucking idiot."
That was the first thing he said. He's like, when obviously I made all of those decisions really, and he's like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Could you not have just done this a year earlier if you were going to do it at all?" And I was like, "Listen, like again, that's something like, for example, I don't regret a single part of it.
Yeah.
Not from a relationship standpoint, from a job standpoint, from anything. The whole time that I was in a relationship, everything I'd done from a business standpoint, all of it was great, and I'm grateful for every single part of it. But there's just certain things that happen in your life when you start to realize, and you're like, okay, maybe I should be making a change here. And then thankfully, as I said, I had the courage to make those changes.
I guess the most common one that we see is like people making the jump from their job to going into business.
Yeah.
Is there any specific advice besides the values factor piece that you would give to help someone gather the courage?
It's a great point. I mean, what if? Like, what if it does go right? That's a big one. And for me, I do a lot of work in terms of envisioning the type of guy I want to be. So for me, that's how I knew the decision I made was right with all of those things. Because I was like, right, this guy that you've envisioned in your head for years, the type of man that you want to become, what would he do? And it was clear as day for me. I knew exactly what he'd do. So then the courage came with time for me. Probably not the best piece of advice, because if you tell someone that, then they will take the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it was that having that vision of what I want in the long term. And then eventually it came down to, it was like, right, you need to pursue this.
What was it like actually pulling the trigger? Do you remember the day, like the actual thought process, having a conversation with partners?
Yeah. It's scary, mate. It's a horrible thing. Because especially if you like with a relationship that you've been in for so long, if you're leaving a relationship, it's scary because you don't want to hurt someone. From a standpoint of at work as well, I was terrified. Going into the gym that I worked at and telling them, listen, I'm leaving, I'm going to pursue this online coaching business. I was scared. I was actually scared, because it's you're leaving behind the certainty of like good income, client base, everything like that, for total uncertainty, which it might not work. Like, what happens if I go away? I'm saying I'm going to go to Thailand, I'm going to live here, I'm going to like live, be sustained by my online coaching business. What if clients leave? What if you can't sign any more clients? Like, all these doubts come into your head. So it was fear, but then once all the decisions were made and things started to fall in place exactly as I had envisioned, it's like, it's relief, mate, more than anything.
I love that, man, because I think there was a dinner I went to. Obviously, you've got to know Elliot pretty well. I'm going to get on the podcast at some point.
Great guy, man. Great guy.
Incredible guy. We went for dinner with Elliot and his partner Sophie, and even just chatting to them, it was like they had this like joint partner philosophy of like, you say what if, for them it's like why not.
Yeah.
And it's actually so interesting. I don't know if it's that I've seen it obviously in yourself, but also speaking to them, it just like triggers something in my brain. And then also thinking back to, I don't know if it was like Jim Rohn used to say a lot of shit like that.
Yep, he did.
It just like, it's like this imprinted, just like, why the fuck not?
Yeah,
Let's just fucking do it.
I know.
It's bizarre.
From all these decisions, mate, and everything that I've done in my life, it's like when you realise that no matter what happens, good or bad, you will be fine. You will push for it, especially with the mentality that I have. I know for a fact that things are going to go wrong at some point in my life, and I know for a fact that I will get through it. So I suppose that's probably one thing from a courage standpoint, is like when you build up the belief that no matter what happens, you will, like, this too shall pass. I repeat that all the time to my clients, this too shall pass. Because obviously, mate, you've experienced it in the past few months with so many different things. Sometimes it can seem like inevitable, like this is not going to pass, this is terrible, but reminding yourself of that and having the belief that things are going to be fine. They always have been, this is no different. That's a big one.
I think it's belief also plus the compounding knowledge and skills that are built up over that time frame as well. It's like Lauren's turning at me and saying, like, what is the actual worst that could happen? And it's like thinking about the skills that have developed. Like, we went from zero to something. We're now at something, and all the knowledge that has been built up over those years. Even when I think about it, there was actually something that Jack said to me today, which I found so interesting. Like, I had to literally mold fucking 4 different offers to get Jack to come on board because he just refused to do anything sales related. He just didn't believe it was going to be good enough. And I had to mold in this client success bevy secretary role to actually get him on board, to then get him selling. And he said something to me today. I think he was speaking to a prospect that's like closing for somebody. And he was like, do you think it's crazy that, like, God forbid if anything happened to us, I could literally have a closing job like that and be making like fucking 5 figures a month. And I could see the conviction in his face, and I was just thought, mate, like, that is actual. I even said it to him at the time. I was just like thinking it, like, that's true development, man. Like, you've went from council job IT, bringing a couple of grand a month, to now in a year and a half of pure development, believing that you could so easily secure it. And he's absolutely right. He would easily go in and fucking secure a role where he'd bring in 5 figures a month with a commission. And I think that's the piece as well. I think skill plus the belief. See if you can actually outline the skills that you have developed. Even little things, like I was chatting to one of the clients today who runs a huge e-com brands, a couple of huge e-com brands, but he's also doing almost like ad work on the side where he's doing ads for different other big supplement companies and stuff like that. Mate, he's bringing in like 8K a month of 2 clients. And he's getting banging results. But we're hopping on a call and I'm giving him advice of things that you could change on ads and funnels. And I'm like, mate, like, a fucking marketing agency would be so easy to cook up, bro. Like, that would be so easy to cook up and run up. Text Lawrence today, I was like, we should. No, I get that. But it's a good position to be in life, isn't it? When you've developed the skill sets. Like, that's what I'm getting to, like, with personal branding. Like, with what I'm doing through creating content, the confidence I'm building in front of a camera, the skill at being more articulate, being able to explain a point, that obviously goes into coaching. I know that these are skills that could go into something else years down the line. So you build that belief as your skill set grows. 100%. So if we go to the online coaching, also you went PT into online coach, what was that transition period like? So, like, what were like the first like 3 things you'd done upon going in and saying to the gym owner, I'm not going to be here anymore? What were the first 3 things that you worked on, if you remember?
Yeah, to transition online. So the first thing, as soon as I obviously went and told him, I had to tell all my clients. So there were some clients that were suitable for my online coaching offer. I had 2 very different target audiences for my online coaching, and then both one-to-one personal training. Like, one-to-one personal training was very much general population, typically a little bit older. And I loved working with these people. Like, like some of my clients that I worked with are still great friends. Because, mate, when you work with somebody for 3, 4, 5 years, you build a great relationship with them.
Wouldn't that invite you to like dinner and stuff like that?
Oh, mate, I go to dinner like every month or 2 with some of my clients. Again, really good friends of mine. I trained her, and then she referred her husband to me, and then her son, and we're great friends, and I'm really grateful for that type of relationship. I've had other clients, for example, 2 of my clients came out and met me in Thailand when I was there. It's pretty crazy story actually behind that, in terms of they were going to surprise me and just turn up in Thailand. 2 clients, again, amazing people that I'm so grateful to have met. But just to return back to that question, in the sense of the things that I changed, obviously once I told the gym, I had to tell all my clients, outlined clients that would then be suitable for my offer, my online coaching offer, and then look to transition them online. I then had to build out things for obviously my current clients so they could continue doing what they want to do. So that was one of the big things. And then making sure that I had everything in place from like I already had like workflows, automations in place, because that's the big thing about online coaching. You can automate a good amount of it, especially from onboarding and things like that. And with being away in Thailand, I wanted to make sure all my systems, especially in the back end, everything was in place. So I didn't have to worry about doing any of that legwork from there. There was one offer that I put out. So this was when I decided I was going to go to Thailand. I was like, right, obviously the goal, as it always is to make as much money as possible in like a short period of time, especially before going away. More so from a confidence perspective.
Yep.
Not that I didn't need that or anything like that, but I was like, right, if I can sell a large amount of coaching in the next kind of 6 to 8 weeks and have a bank of cash, that's going to give me a ton of confidence, not just from a cash standpoint, but also from an ability to like convert people through an offer. So that was one thing I done. I put out like the 6-week accelerator offer, so converted some clients into that. So that was really the first thing I worked on. After that, I built out the 6-week offer, and then that put me in a really good position for actually going away.
How many clients actually converted from in person?
From that, I was just down to, I think it was 3 in the end from there. So
3 converted from in person.
because I'd put out, I think it was 4 of them were ideal fits for my online coaching offer, and then offered to them. One of them again said that he was happy to do it. For whatever reason we didn't go forward with it, and then the other 3 transitioned online and are still working with me.
Because I always think that people make assumptions or almost like hopeful assumptions. They're not actually real. They're not based on any concrete data. It seems like you actually made like very valid assumptions, because you had like 40 other clients, did you not?
Yeah, so by the time about 42 total clients, but in person at the time must have been about 33 or something, 32. But you're actually right there. There was probably a lot of clients that I'd maybe almost wrote off as like, nah, do you know what? They're not suitable for it, but it potentially could have been on the other end of it. But then I went through like a process of like outlining it. But it's also a sense of like, what clients do I want to work with on an online basis? Because it's totally different. Like working with someone online versus one-to-one is totally different. Yeah.
What was the kind of like conclusion you came to in terms of like differentiating them both?
With working who I want to work with online and who I don't. I mean, communication's a huge one, because online, when you're not seeing somebody, there's some clients that a lot of their accountability is like in person. Like you have these conversations in person. Maybe they're not great communicators, using WhatsApp, whatever. Whereas people that are always asking questions, great communicators, that was a big factor in that. For me, obviously, I transitioned my offer from just helping people lose weight and improve their overall health to helping people not only get in the best shape of their life, but creating a routine that they can be proud of and essentially transforming the rest of their life around that. So self-improvement, that's it. I went from just being a personal trainer to a self-improvement coach, which that's my thing. Like that's my passion. That's what really lights me up, helping people not only transform, as I said, their physique, but their entire life through their routine. Helping them remove the things that are holding them back and helping them bring in the things they need in their life to help them take a step forward. So for me, it was looking at that and saying, right, what type of people? Because some of my clients were just happy to come for me for personal training. They'd got the results. They'd kind of lost the weight, but then they just stayed for the service. I always remember this phrase. It was like, people come for the results, they stay for the service. So if they come, they get the results, but then they like you as a person, they enjoy the service, you save them time, you hold them accountable, they'll keep coming to you from a personal training standpoint.
Yeah, because from a community standpoint, it's they pay for the result, but they stay for the community.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something along those lines.
Exact same,
which is, so fucking interesting. One of the things I did think was interesting as well was, as you started to evolve into online coaching, you started to get more and more higher net worth clients. Which obviously the environment piece, one of the things we didn't even unpack was the what, who, where, from an aspect of, because I heard it recently again, Naval saying it, which brought it front of mind. The 3 most important questions that we all make very subconsciously, we don't actually really put a lot of thought into. As you obviously branched online, it probably took you out of Lanark into an environment where you started attracting clients that were running 7-figure per year businesses, a lot of which you were getting incredible fucking results for. A lot of them still working with you to this day as well. So what was that like as a transition?
I mean, it was, first of all, it was great from a confidence standpoint for me, because I've never directly targeted these people through my marketing. I've never said like, I work with like, high performing entrepreneurs or whatever. So to have these people like naturally coming towards me, I was like, right, okay, well, I'm obviously putting out the right message in there that I'm the type of person that they would want to be coached by. So that was a big confidence boost for me. So obviously I've always envisioned that coaching a certain type of people, high performing people. But as I said, just never directly offered that. So big confidence booster for me. Also very interesting seeing the inside of that. Particularly from a self-improvement standpoint, because I coach people in their self-improvement and not just from a fitness standpoint, it opens up that you gain access into different parts of their life. They then start divulging, like they tell you about their family, about their businesses. So being able to see what goes on behind the scenes of all these businesses and people's family and people that are steps ahead of me in business, miles ahead of me, it's been really good from my standpoint to be able to see that and how I can help them just as much as anyone else transform their life.
What were some of the like results that you started to get with some of these clients that made you realise I could crush it for anyone?
So it was one that always stands out to me was a client. We worked from a productivity standpoint. Like he came to me and he's like, it was so funny actually how it worked. He came to me not really knowing what he wanted. He just was like, I've seen your content. I've heard you talk about this stoicism stuff. I love your mindset. I don't really know how we're going to work together, but I want to work with you. And I was like, okay, right. So we had this conversation. I remember the first conversation we had together. We weren't really sure. what it was, and he's got a high paying job, and he said to me, it was like an offhand comment about this position he was at in his career, and he wanted to secure this kind of course for his career, and it would take him like leaps and bounds in his career. It would give him so much self-assurance, so much confidence. And he mentioned that. I was like, so what's holding you back from that? And he's like, oh, well, I can't get the routine. I never study. I never hold myself to it. I always say I'm going to do it and I never follow through on it. I'm like, okay, we can change that.
Yeah.
And it was the sense of, I've used this kind of productivity system with clients for their fitness and then other elements of their self-improvement, but being able to apply that to someone with either a high paying job or somebody who's an entrepreneur, that was a big thing for me. I was like, okay, I don't actually need to know the ins and outs of his job. Like, for example, he was studying a very high end almost course. It was on like mechanics and stuff like that. I don't need to know that. But what I do need to know is how to make him productive, how to make sure that he follows through in the things he says he's going to do. And I have those systems. So that was a really big one for me. It's like, okay, I don't need to be an expert on that field. I don't need to know it. I just need to know productivity inside out and help him get to where he wanted to be. And that was one of the most fulfilling results I've ever got because of how much it changed his life. The confident mate, like now the guy's unbelievable, man. He's like, his mindset, his perspective on life, working with someone in the beginning who had maybe, I mean, everybody has a closed mind in the beginning, but to now somebody who's so resilient, somebody who's so disciplined, very stoic in his approach to life, it's very fulfilling.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts, bro. What's some of if you could give us an insight into like what that productivity system would look like?
So it all comes off, everything I do is basically reverse engineered. So when a client comes into me, one of the first things we do is we look at their ideal self. We paint a picture of who they want to be in the future. And I don't just mean like, oh, I want to have this car, I want to have this house. Fuck all to do with that. It's all to do with their traits, their characteristics. It's like, what type of human being do they want to be? Once we have that outlined, we then look at, okay, what routine would help you become that type of person? And then that's how we build out the routine from there. So when we look at productivity and we look at a calendar setup specifically, it follows the same idea. It's like we look at what's the end outcome here. Like, what do you need from your week? So I need to work toward these key tasks within business. I need to move this project forward. Okay, well, we need to prioritize that. So what we do is I use Google Calendar for a lot of my clients. Very simple, but we follow a process of, we have a bigger vision, which can be a long-term vision or a monthly goal. And with those monthly goals, we then basically, as I said, reverse engineer. So we make weekly targets off the back of that. We make non-negotiable targets. So basically the simple side of it is everything is reverse engineered off of the end outcome. We just work back from there and we create steps for that. That's
the, I also think from a coaching perspective, like so many people have a one shoe fits all that is not reverse engineering, but they start from, it's almost like the client meets them. Whereas for you, like one of the things I remember, I actually wrote this down earlier on, but I didn't get a chance to touch on it. Like you're the only person I've ever done a delivery audit on and looked at your delivery process and never made any changes to. I think I gave you one piece of feedback and it was a fucking like follow-up message or some shit on WhatsApp. And like whenever I sit down with clients and we audit the delivery process, there's usually a lot of changes that need to be made. You're one of the only people that I can ever remember doing an audit with and being like, there's literally nothing to change here. It's fucking shit hot. And I think that's something that I think a large component of that having to be shit hot is because you're literally going and meeting the client where they are and working back from wherever. And I'd imagine there's a lot of clients that are in completely different positions.
Yeah.
Starting points.
Exactly. I remember speaking to a coach a while ago and he was telling me about his kind of onboarding process and how he's like, oh, we outlined this morning routine and whatever. And he's telling me it's like basically the same morning routine for everybody. And in the sense of like, I mean, I get his perspective on it, but he's like, all right, this cold shower, this, that. I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you telling everybody going to cold shower? Not everybody needs a cold shower. See, for some people, brilliant, but it's like this very fixed approach. That's how adherence drops off a cliff. Like, that's one thing I learned through personal training. Like, adherence is huge. And I think people in business especially, they just assume that people are going to come into their business and stick to everything they say. People don't do that. Humans don't act that way. So for me, adherence is obviously huge. As a coach, if I want to get results, they have to be able to adhere to it. So it has to be different for everybody. The approach has to be different. Some people can come in and totally lock in, can, like, for example, Jude. Working with Jude can come in and go fucking balls to the wall straight away. Other people need to build up to that. So there's very different approaches for different people.
Yeah, because I think it's bang on the money. I think the other person that I can think of that I had in the podcast was Mark Stratham. He spoke about very like the kind of important nature of like, yes, there's going to be a lot of nightmare clients out there, but it's like, how do you get those nightmare clients back on track and not nightmare clients? And also a component of like not just discarding them as, okay, they're a pain in the arse or they WhatsApp me a lot or they're not following what I'm telling them to do, like fuck them. Like just like this harsh mentality. Whereas like his whole approach of built to coach, which was helping coaches navigate those types of clients, was like probably the first person I'd ever really heard say something along those lines, because most coaching mentorships are Everything's just monthly recurring revenue.
Exactly.
Get as many fucking deals as possible. Discard anyone that's a pain in the arse.
Yeah.
And just run it that way. Whereas for yourself, mate, you seem like you've developed that philosophy probably just through the value space. You value getting results more than anything fucking else. So you've been willing to do whatever it takes to get a result.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's fucking incredible, mate. I know you're choking to talk about it, mate. Let's touch on Thailand.
Go for it.
Let's run it up. What was the initial plan going out? How did it go to plan? Or run me through the kind of thought process of it.
Very much went to plan. So obviously at the time in my life when I'd made some of the biggest decisions, obviously ended a relationship that I'd been in for a very long time, left my personal training job to go fully online. That then enabled a lot of things. I had a lot of time freedom here. And for years, mate, I've always wanted to go to Thailand. Like I train Muay Thai. I love Muay Thai. I've always looked at Thailand. I mean, I think everybody's seen Thailand and thought, oh, it looks like a pretty cool place to go. Yeah. I'd always envisioned that. Obviously, one of the things that is appealing is the fact that it is a cheaper lifestyle. Like you can live a very, very good life for a lot less money over there. So that's obviously something that draws you in. So I'd always wanted to do that. And then once these decisions kind of fell into place, I was like, holy shit, like I could do this. Like there was the one time in my life and I actually believe that I could take this step and I could do that. So again, a huge courage thing for me because I'd never been away myself. I'd maybe been myself. I remember I went to Vienna for 2 days by myself. But other than that, I've never lived by myself for more than 2 days. I've always lived with other people. So to be able to go to the other side of the world by myself and live for 3 months was a big thing. But I knew what that would do for my self-improvement. I knew how much I would grow as a person. I knew the things that would put me in front of. So yeah, the decision was to go over there to build my mind, my body, and my business to the best standards possible. That was it. And people always look at Thailand, they're like, oh yeah, you could go there, you could lock in, whatever. Mate, there is more distractions there than anywhere else that I've ever been. And thankfully I managed to avoid the temptation mostly. But no, it's an unbelievable place. The lifestyle that it can give you is incredible. It's just, yeah, so again, that was why I went over there to see if I could live in the other part of the world. Because when you look at it from a business standpoint, there was a 7-hour time zone difference. So there's things, it's not just all, oh, it's beautiful weather, it's whatever. You had to really consider lots of different factors.
One of the things that we spoke about in Murder and Carter before you left was that loneliness piece of like, what is it actually going to be like? Not only just from a time zone perspective, yeah, but you're not exactly a 3-hour flight home. Yeah. What was the flight time?
15 hours.
It's like you can't, and also the flights, like how expensive are the flights?
About 900 quid.
So once again, it's not like I just hop over.
Yeah, I'll hop back next week.
Hop back. I literally like it's a proper commitment. Which I remember when I think there was a point probably 2-3 years ago. You might remember this. We were speaking about going to, was it South Africa? It was like me and Andy, and we were going to get a few of the boys get a villa. Also, we've now started doing Marbella, Barcelona, and stuff like that. The initial thought process was to go to like literally like South Africa. And it was like the main thought process of the time zone's not that different. Yeah. But then we looked at the flight times and it was like,
it's huge.
It's actually not just a hop to Spain. Like it's actually not. And the price of them was fucking far different as well.
I know.
So yeah, I think it's like it's not just traveling or like traveling and have a time zone difference, but you're literally like alone in the other side of the world. Like how the fuck did you navigate that, mate?
I mean, wow, man, it was a great experience looking back on it, but just to add more context to it, so obviously I'd flew to the other side of the world to live for 3 months, and I put it out there on the internet as well. It's not as if I could go, I could have went over in a month in and be like, oh, I don't like this, I'm scared, I'm going home. Could have done that, but I didn't want to. So there was also that playing in the back of my mind. I was like, wait, I've told everybody I'm leaving personal training, that I'm going fully online, and then there was these doubts in the back of my head, like, what if this doesn't work? What if you don't like it? What if you don't make enough money and you have to go back to personal training and everybody's going to look at you and think, oh, remember he said he'd done this and he didn't do it. So there was these like limiting beliefs and these fears at the back of my mind. But yeah, the loneliness piece, just to come back to what I was about to explain there, I obviously flew to the other side of the world. I first arrived so I went to Dubai for a day, then went to Bangkok. I was in Bangkok for 4 days before going to Phuket, which is where I was going to live for most of the 3 months. When I got to Bangkok, I was due to run the Bangkok Marathon my 3rd day there. And on day 2, came back in from the shops. I was staying in an Airbnb, which basically had 2 different rooms. So it had a glass sliding door separating 2 rooms. I remember I got food and I sat my food down and I turned around to walk into another room, totally forgetting I'd shut this glass door and walked right into it. Now, I walked into it with my knee and the whole glass shattered. Of course, I sliced my leg open in 4 different places and had to get 24 stitches in my leg. So this is day 2. I'm at the other side of the world. My first time ever being alone. I just look down. The second my knee hits that glass and it shatters, there's blood everywhere, pouring down my leg. I've never seen anything like it. I've never had an injury like it. Blood pouring down my leg. My first thought was I could die.
Yeah.
Like I thought I'd severed an artery. Luckily in the part of my leg, it was a wee bit away from like the femoral artery or whatever. But when I seen the amount of blood, I was like, oh my God, like I'm in trouble here. And then literally a second later, snapped out of it. I remember I grabbed these like packet tissues they gave me when I checked in, or towels, paper towels, fired that at my leg, opened the door, and then obviously this woman starts running towards me. She's like, what happened? But in Thai, she didn't speak English. And described to her, showed her the glass door, and she's like, oh no, and she starts taking pictures of the door. I'm like, excuse me. Showed her my knee. And then, trying to communicate to her, I was like, I need to go to a hospital. Where is a hospital? I could still walk at the time because of the adrenaline. And thankfully for me, managed to get an ambulance. They phoned an ambulance for me that came, picked me up, took me to a hospital. But I remember sitting in the back of that ambulance, mate. It was like a disco bus. It was crazy what it looked like, right? This tiny thing. I was on day 2 or 3 in Bangkok at the other side of the world by myself. I'm like, I'm in the back of an ambulance. How am I going to explain this to my mum and dad? Like, what am I going to do? What if I can't walk? I can't run the marathon. Can I run the marathon tomorrow? Like, what can I do? All these questions going through my head. Like, I can't train Muay Thai for a few weeks. But then I remember when we almost got to the hospital, I just started laughing. I'm like, what a great story this is going to be. Like you're going to be fine. Because I knew, see, once I was in the ambulance, they managed to stop the bleeding. I was like, you'll be fine. Yep. Like, everything's going to be all right. So yeah, just no need to panic about it. And then I was filled with gratitude. It was so bizarre, mate, how grateful I was in the days after that. It was so strange. But yeah, so obviously going there, that was the thing that happened within the first few days. And then moved to Phuket a few days after that. Didn't get to run the marathon, unfortunately, but I will go back and run it one day, that's for sure. And lived in Phuket for the next 3 months.
You were literally thrown in the deep end. The true definition of it. Because it's like that loneliness piece. It's like, there is nothing more, even as someone that, because before you moved out, you were still staying with your mum and dad as an example.
Exactly.
And it's like, in moments like that, it's like, you think to phone your parents, but they can't fucking do it.
Exactly.
Nobody can do a fucking thing.
Nobody.
Whereas you have to communicate to someone that doesn't speak the same language as you to get in an ambulance, to then go to a hospital that's not. It's not like we're used to hospital, like they're used to hospitals here. Yeah. I'd imagine the hospital over there are fucking very different as well.
Well, surprisingly, I had the fear. I was like, oh no, it's going to be a dive. It was unbelievable. It was so good. There was nobody there. I got straight through. The doctors were amazing. Best hospital I've ever been in, mate. Wow. In Bangkok. It was really, really good. And that's a misconception, which, to be honest, gave me a ton of confidence. Yeah. So like now I know that the hospitals are fine over this. So see, for the rest of my trip, I was like, see if something does happen to me, I'll be fine. Like, they've got it cracked over here, so I'll be fine. But yeah, that was a big part of that, and it actually gave me more courage once I'd done that.
One of the things I was curious about, you just kind of highlighted, just a quick one. You said also it was cheap to go out there and live from a stereotypical standpoint from what you've seen online. How cheap really was it?
Not as cheap. No, it was not. It was. Bearing in mind, I went over in November. January is your kind of busy season. January gets busy, it gets roasting hot. It's the busiest month of the year, I believe, in January for them. Maybe Songkran, so like this month right now. But it's the busiest period of the year from January to say May or June. Yep. And I didn't know that. I knew it was their popular season, but I didn't know how much the prices would change. So food is so cheap. Food is cheap. The food is amazing. The accommodation can be cheap. So like you may have seen videos online of like, oh, you can live here for £300 or £400 a month. It's got a pool. It's got this. Man, not really. Like if you sign a 6-month lease or a 1-year lease, then yes, you could get a really good price on it over there. But if you're going over for a few months, especially if you're moving about, you're not going to get things cheap. Yeah. There are ways about it, but the majority of things are a lot more expensive than they seem. Like you can look on booking.com and you can say, oh, that's £50 a night. Look at it, it's amazing. But you're staying there for 30 days. Like if you're staying there for 30 days, that adds up. So yeah, you can end up spending a fair bit of money. So I went out and I remember I was like, oh, I think I'll spend £600 a month in accommodation. Quickly went to 800, quickly went to £1,000 a month in accommodation. Bearing in mind, I wasn't very smart with it. Like I was moving about every now and again. I wanted to go to different places. And I mean, I could have been way smarter with my money, that's for sure. Yeah,
that makes sense, bro, for sure. What's the, one of the things I was actually going to say on the loneliness piece, I remember when I was younger, I think it was my brother went into the Navy. And I don't know how true this fully is, but it's like once you sign and you're in, I'm not sure what the period is.
For you're in? It's like 4 years or something. I think. Yeah.
He was 2 weeks in and he was phoning my dad, being like, I need to come home, like crying, really upset. Yeah. Didn't know if he could fucking do it. He was like, literally, you need to get me out of here. Like, I cannot do this. And then just beyond that threshold, he ended up literally loving it. It'd be like the whole thing that like changed his whole life in perspective. So amazing. I was thinking about that just when you were saying that. It's like, going over there, it's like that first couple of weeks, I could imagine. I think I said that to you, Malone Carter. It's like that first couple of weeks is going to be fucking tough.
It was to an extent. Like I wasn't too bad, but I remember there was some nights I was in bed and I was thinking like, fuck, I would just love to like speak to somebody,
Yeah.
like in person. I don't know anybody. Like it was, yes, I suppose at times it was hard. I was a bit, especially when my knee was humped.
Yeah.
I was in bed. I remember the pain I woke up in one night. And I was like, wait, so see if something happens to me in the middle of the night, I've not got anyone here with me to help me. Like you're on your own here. So there was a little bit of worry that came with that. In fact, the first few nights when I was sleeping by myself, I was like, I had this fear. I was like, if something happens to you during the night for whatever, which is never gonna, if something happened to you, there is nobody, like you do not know anybody in this country. You're at the other side of the world. You can't do anything. You can't speak the language. So but again, that's a bit of an irrational fear. So I got over that.
That's fair. So how did your routine look like over in Thailand?
It changed a lot. Obviously I had to adapt a lot to it because my routine at home was like, I wake up between 4 and 6 a.m. I train first thing in the morning, then I get straight into work. At the time, bearing in mind, I was just coming straight out of being a personal trainer. Yeah. So my first client was at 6 in the morning. I was trained before that. I would have clients all morning, and some days I would go back in at night for clients. So my routine was very different. So when I went over there, the big change is the fact that you're 7 hours ahead. So you essentially have the first 7 hours you're awake. Nobody's bothering you. Nobody's texting you, which is a great feeling. It's really good because you're like, I could just focus purely on deep work. Nobody's going to be texting me. There's no distractions. Sometimes it was weird actually. I remember the first few weeks, like, thinking, that's a bit weird. Nobody's texting me. But it was just because everybody was in bed for like, but there was a period where I was like, I went half a day and nobody texted me. I was like, this is really strange, but it was obviously the time zone.
Yep.
So when I first went out there, obviously my knee was injured. I remember I was getting up. I was trying to get up not too early because I was like, there's no point in me getting up at 4 a.m. over here. It doesn't make sense. Especially with their culture as well is a little bit different towards it. They're very relaxed people, super relaxed. Once my knee healed, I mean, I was just working. I trained once a day. I weight trained every single day, even when my knee was done. Like I think I trained every day for about 40 days in a row over there. Like I didn't take a rest day, partially to fill the time, but also because I could and I wanted to. But yeah, routine looked like I would get up, I would work for a good few hours, then I'd go to the gym, then I'd come back and I would work, and then I would try and leave a few hours at night to go out and explore and do things. And I'll come back and I'd work for another hour, just respond to messages, and then I'll go to my bed. Later on, that developed, especially once I was doing Muay Thai, because the way that it works in Thailand, pretty much every single gym has at least 2 classes a day, one at 8 a.m. and one at 4 p.m. And that's the kind of standard times there. So at 8 a.m. I had to be up, obviously at 7, drink plenty of water. So I was like, right, I could get up at 6 and I'd work for an hour and a half. I tried that and it worked sometimes, but then I had to run to the gym, and then it was kind of, so what I tended to do was the best routine I got into was I'd wake up at 7, I'd go and do my gratitude journal and everything like that. And then I'd go to the gym for 8, I'd go train, I'd come back, shower, have my breakfast, and then that'd be my first work block of the day. I typically done 3 work blocks throughout the day.
And how long were the work blocks?
It could be anywhere between 2 and 4 hours. Nice. So it just depends. I wouldn't do 3 to 4 hour work blocks, but I could do a 2, a 3, and a 2. Could be more, could be less, just depends.
That's class. And in terms of, I mean, so many different aspects of it, also your routine being dialed, how was it from like a client management standpoint as well?
That was an interesting one because I was like, I don't know how this will go, but it was pretty smooth, mate. And I made sure to ask my clients this when I got back. I was like, how was it from your perspective? Because from my perspective, it was fine. I was going to bed at about 11 each night, so I made sure I was in bed for about 11 or latest 12. So from there, I was making sure basically the last thing I'd done before I went to bed was like client communication. I would message them, and then usually I fluctuated between 2 different things. Sometimes when I first woke up, I would go through all messages, but then I found nobody was responding anyway, so there was no point in me even checking it for the first 5-6 hours. But it was great, especially on my Mondays when I done my upgrade feedback. All my upgrade feedback was done, and then my clients woke up and all of them already had it for them waking up. So that actually was to their advantage. So first thing the Monday morning, they woke up, they had that coaching feedback from me, so they knew exactly what to do with the week ahead, rather than it being, kind of 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. a little bit later in the day.
I think the most like important thing I'm taking from that is like expectation setting in terms of you're setting expectation that you're going away, but I think the biggest thing that people fall into, especially running coaching businesses, is respond to all hours. I mean, I see it with Bex sometimes, like she just, when someone truly just wants to help other people, it can be an all day. Like she could get up and within 30 minutes she's on her phone, she's sending voice notes. And then when we're going to bed, it's like 8, she's still dropping messages, still helping clients with things. And it's like, with that expectation setting, it's not even like you're setting an expectation that you're going away, but you're also truly fulfilling it. And I think that's the thing where a lot of coaches go back in expectations. They say, oh, don't reply after this or blah, blah, blah. You were literally 7 hours ahead. So it just completely changes the ballgame. And it probably, I can imagine as well, coming back, your relationship with clients probably would have been far easier to navigate from an aspect of like, they probably got into the habit of messaging you at those hours as well. So that's fucking huge, man.
It worked really well. I was surprised by it, but again, it gives me confidence if I want to do that again, that it is perfectly manageable. As you said, as long as you set clear expectations, then it's fine.
Obviously, you are planning on doing it again.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
When is that?
Yeah, I'm thinking June. Second week in June. I mean, just from how I never intended to. When I went over the first time, I really never intended. I thought, right, I'll do this in fact, when I first went, I was like, I think I'm going to do 2 months, maybe not 3 months, because I was scared, really, to be honest. But then, obviously, coming back and thinking about it and thinking about how my life was when I was there, and my life is incredible just now, mate. Like the things that I'm obviously, as you know, working on stuff, I'm truly, really fulfilled right now. But I just know that this is the stage of my life where I'm not going to be able to do this forever. I spoke on the family piece. Like in the next few years, that will take a lot more of a priority in my life. That will be a higher value of mine. So traveling might slip a little bit. So it's like, why not? Right now, I'm in the prime of my life for being able to do these things, especially not just from a business standpoint, but also from a training standpoint, being able to go over there and train Muay Thai, all these things. It's it's a great stage to be able to go and do it. And the business is now at the level where I can do it.
And what's the time frame you're thinking when you're going over in like June?
I'm thinking the same again, 3 months. Potentially spend more time in Bali. I was there for 2 weeks. I went over New Year. Bali's a cool place as well. Very good for like entrepreneurs. So was Thailand. It was a hotspot for kind of digital nomads. Met some really cool people, man, running some cool businesses, had some great conversations. That was a huge part of why I went. Like people didn't understand that. They look at, oh, you're just going over there to like, no, I'm going over there to be exposed to different cultures, different mindsets. Like I met people from everywhere. I've never been anywhere before where there's been so many different cultures in one place.
From Lanark, man.
From Lanark, mate. Believe it or not, the culture in Lanark is pretty fixed, mate. You don't get many multiracial people there. So yeah, it was wildly different, put it that way.
What was your like one overarching like big takeaway from it?
It's a good question, and I've thought of this, and I'm sure I probably answered it differently last time, but for me, I mean, it reinforced the whole open-mindedness piece, and the fact that if you don't expose yourself to these type of situations, you're never going to be exposed to some of the greatest minds that you'll ever meet, some of the most open-minded people you ever meet. Like some of the conversations I had, you couldn't have here. Like you're not exposed to those types of people. So the big thing for me was that it was both the community and the network that you potentially expose yourself to. I would say that was a really big one for me. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think it's something that like when you the cultural differences like you've highlighted, like going out into that environment and meeting all these other kind of like different people, I can imagine it being hugely perspective shifting.
Yeah, just to come back to that one piece, I actually believe the answer that I usually give, which makes far more sense to me, is the connection piece. You spoke about loneliness. I remember I was about halfway through my trip there, it was maybe 45, 50 days in, and I was locked in, business was going great. I was staying in this place, Chalong, which is where Fitness Street is, where all the best gyms in the world are. But I was away from everything. So I'd met some people before that. I met people after that and like went to the gym, trained with people, done different things, went for food with people. But then at this stage, there was maybe like a 10 to 14 day period where I barely met anybody. I'd go to training and I'd speak to some guys and it'd be cool. But other than that, I hadn't really spoke to anybody in like 14 days. FaceTime like a few of the boys and stuff like that. But this was a stage where I was like, holy shit, like felt like there was something missing. The business was going well, training was going well. I was feeling good mentally and physically, but I was like, there's something. Yeah, I wanted something else, and what I unraveled that is it was just human connection. I wanted to be around people that were like-minded, that were just literally as simple as it sounds, connection, mate. Being with somebody who you can talk to about life. When you don't have that, there's a part of me that felt like it was missing. So that's one thing I unraveled, which I never realized before, is how much I value just human connection.
Yeah, that's incredible, bro. Because I think it's something like, once getting back to that piece, like you value things that you do not have. You probably went your whole life like with infinite connections.
Exactly.
From an aspect of having people close to you, and you go over there. Because I remember there was a picture you put out, and it looked like something from a movie, mate. It was like you're on this little like fucking. It was almost like a hut type vibe, and you were like the beach was right in front of you. You had videos of you walking out, and it was just like this fucking really cool set. I don't even know if the water was underneath you. I couldn't remember if it was, but I remember just thinking like, I don't know if it was during that time window, but that's where I flashed back to. Like, imagine you being there for 14 days yourself, and not having anyone to speak to and just locking in. Like, what was the? I guess final question on this: what was the kind of mental development that you went through during that kind of like 2 week window?
I mean, you become more resilient. You become. This is something I've always kind of had the goal of, and I think I've actually began to achieve at a very young age. Is being good at being alone. Seneca once said that he was writing a letter to his friend Lucillus, and he said basically Lucillus asked him like what was happening in his life, like what was he becoming better at, and he says, Lucillus, I've begun to become a friend to myself. And this is Seneca, one of the wisest men that ever lived. At an older age, I don't know, maybe been in his 50s at the time, and to say that at that age he's just started to become a friend to himself, I was like, wow, that's pretty big. And that was the thing that he valued most. So for me, I've always been very aware of that. It's like how rare that truly is. Like to be see the person that's in your head, the person you spend the most time with in your life is yourself. You better become a good friend with that guy, because if you don't, it doesn't matter what you have in life, material possessions, other relationships, if the relationship you have in your own mind with yourself isn't good, you can't give enough to other relationships. You can't give, you'll never be truly fulfilled. So for me, that was a big thing. Spending more time myself, again, when there is no, like, I can't just go and meet somebody. I'm at the other side of the world. I am alone here. And it really did help me become a friend to myself.
How did you actually develop it during that time, besides obviously being yourself, but like were you, because I remember we've spoken multiple times, like you'll speak to yourself in the car.
All the time.
You journal
all the time, brother. All the time, man. I speak to myself. It was so refreshing hearing Val talk about this. What a compliment, by the way. I don't know if you heard this in the podcast with Chris Williamson. He said to Chris Williamson, when I visualise being on a podcast, you're the guy that's in front of me. That's a hell of a compliment, right? But he spoke about how like he does that, and so do I. I will give myself a question. I'll imagine I'm on a podcast. I'll imagine I'm either on my own podcast or on someone else's. And I do that all day, every day, mate. I do it when I'm in the office at 5:30 in the morning. I'm sitting reading. I sit and speak to myself. I have an affirmation that I read to myself, and then sometimes I'll have a conversation when I'm driving in the car. Mate, sometimes I'm sitting at the traffic lights and I'm not on the phone at I'm talking to myself, and I'm like, they're just gonna think I'm on the phone, aren't they? I hope. Just pretend you're on the phone. Because I used to stop. Oh my God, there's somebody next to me in the car. But no, it's like I've gained so much from that. People sometimes compliment me on how I speak. They say like, "Oh, you're quite articulate," and they're like, "Where did that come from?" And I think it has been through speaking to myself, mate. I genuinely think it has. I have these conversations with myself all the time, especially as a coach. I put myself in a position where if a client was coming to me with a question, I then respond exactly how I'd respond to a client. So when I am in that situation, I already have not a preloaded answer, but I've already been through this situation. So it's almost like visualization. I'm putting myself in these situations, but oh man, I'm constantly talking to myself, and I love it. I can actually get myself really excited by having a conversation with myself. Imagine that I have this dialect going back and forth, and I'm like, right, okay, what question would they then ask off the back of this, of my response? And then I'll go over and do it. But podcasting all the time. Like I've got my guest on the podcast tomorrow. I'm already visualizing what I'm going to ask him. I'm visualizing how he's responding to it, and then what I'm going to say off the back of it. I do it all the time.
Probably the most common place people would do that is probably in the shower. But it's like doing it beyond the kind of like relaxed environment of a shower, because there's something I can remember what book it read that actually broke down that kind of thought process of how a shower can put you in this relaxed state, and where you can have all these crazy arguments and thought processes in your head with other people. One of the things I loved as well about what he said, which triggered like an Naval thought process, where he kind of laughed at himself and said that he was his own best friend. And I found that so interesting as well.
I feel the same way. I've felt that for a long time now.
Yeah.
Like, who better to be friends with than yourself? And when I have this idea of an ideal self, I have a vision for my life, the type of man I want to be, the type of traits and characteristics I want to have. I'm very clear on what I want. Like, and there's an Naval quote that perfectly sums up what I want. But because I'm so clear on that, and every time I see myself becoming that guy, it makes me proud of myself.
I love that shit, bro. I love it. In terms of, there was a perfect segue point, but we've kind of digressed a little bit. One thing that we've not spoken about that we're going to at some point today was your new venture.
My new venture.
Your new changing path.
Let me tell you about it. So an exciting venture, mate. Obviously, my online coaching business, that's been my main focus. The podcast as well for the past 6-7 months or so. But an opportunity has arisen for me to work with yourself, with Young and Lazy, as a coach, which, I mean, we've spoke about this in the past before. It's something, by the way, and I've told you this, it's something that I've thought about for years. We met about 4 years ago. I always thought, I would love to work with John. I would love to be in business with John. And I always thought about that. And then obviously it's come at the right time. Things take time. This has come up. So when we spoke about this, especially with the way things are changing with YNL, I was like, I need to be a part of this. I want to be part of this.
It's so interesting because like so many of the people closest to me have just naturally became friends.
Mhm.
Well, it's almost like clients first, then friends, and then beyond that into like actual partners. And I
Mhm.
think, yes, it's huge, mate. Because when I think about I've always treated relationships like we're going to be in business for decades.
Mm.
Who knows what's going to come off the back of that? And one of the things that you literally cannot foresee, especially in those early stages, is things like this actually happening. But the more that I've been in business, the more these things have actually started to happen, and realizing as well, most people bring on, whether it's team members or partners or whoever, a lot of time people go into business with people that they have no idea how they operate from a business function. And it's just like, oh, you like business? I like business? Yeah, we'll fucking run this up together. Whereas I think the difference is now with a lot of, I guess from a team structure perspective, it's like we know how all of us operate. We've seen each other in our worst moments and our best moments, and we're very much coming together to build something that could impact millions of people. And it's yeah, I was so fucking buzzing, mate, when you were like, yeah, let's fucking do it.
Mm.
That was because you came along to Marbella.
Mm-hmm.
That was the kind of what was that the initiation?
Yeah, I suppose it was. That was the initiation. Obviously, I had dinner with yourself, had dinner with Lawrence. We spoke about the vision for the future, and I'm all in on that.
All in. What was obviously you spoke about maybe doing it years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What's changed compared to then to now, do you think?
In terms of why I want to do it now, people like you, Lawrence. The vision is a huge part of it, but just in terms of what I've always wanted from a business standpoint, I mean, my business right now, I love it. It's very much a lifestyle business. It enables me to live the type of life that I want to live, and it's incredible, and I love that. But from when I'm talking in decades standpoint, like this is the type of shit that I think of being part of building something that is going to be a long-term play. It brings in two great aspects to my life, and then of course, as I said, the people are huge, and that I would never go into business with anyone that I couldn't see as a best friend, which both of you are to me. So, and obviously having experienced both of you grow within business over the past few years has been incredible. So to be working with you guys is incredible, mate.
Feels like completely mutual, brother. When I think about the kind of people component as well, what you said earlier on about value and connection, do you think Thailand further reinforced it for you, but do you think that made it even more of a right time?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. Being away from that and realizing, as I said, like, because people, especially when you're younger, you think of your friend group and how many friends you have. It's nothing to do with the number. Like the depth of connection. That's something I really look at now with, especially I've spent so much time journaling about different relationships, mate, that I've had. And depth of relationship is huge. Like the emotional connection, like that's how we build emotional connection, is through deep conversations. Like if you ever remember the Diary of a CEO conversation cards? Do you remember them? Yeah. It says in the back of them, vulnerability is the door to connection. When I think about my best relationships, for example, with you boys, like I've been vulnerable with you guys. You've been vulnerable with me. The best relationships I have right now are the ones that I can be vulnerable with, that I can, ask deep questions, be asked deep questions, and be totally honest. Those are where the best,
I mean, I've been saying that vulnerable text at the weekend.
Yeah,
fair. It's
exactly.
been a fucking turbulent time for me, though, like the first 3-4 months of the year. And I think it's, to be fair, like when we speak about the close proximity of the people closest to you, I think the one person that reinforces that the most is Lawrence. Over communication all the fucking time. It's like whatever you're thinking or feeling. And I even, from an aspect of us becoming partners, our relationship started to change where I was like, I can't take things to him. I can't take these internal thoughts. He was once an advisor. He's now not. He's an actual partner. I can't take these things to him. And I've never seen someone nip that on the bud so fast in all my life.
he's great at reminding you of that. It's like I remember the other day we were at the strategy day, and he's like, when I said something, he could obviously see I was maybe holding back a little bit. He's like, Conor, he's like, remember, like anything you say it. Like just so much, that over communication piece is huge. Yeah,
because I think as well from a strategy day perspective, it's like those conversations literally need to be had at every single depth or level, because all it can take is one small change in direction from like a plane analogy, and you land on a completely different fucking country or city, and it's like every little component needs to be ironed out to a fucking T, and everyone needs to be on the same page as well, which I think Lawrence is one of those people that has that fucking dialed, and also from a values piece continually reinforces it the same way you reinforce so many different aspects of your life from an aspect of routine, discipline, working out. It's like he's almost got that shit dialed up here where it's like none of it slips. I've even started reading today the Dose Effect.
The Dose Effect, yeah.
Mate, like that shit is fucking unreal. But also I see so much of it in Lawrence
I
in
bet.
terms of his habits and like how he speaks about things, and it's yeah, it's so interesting, mate. When I think about us three, what's the, obviously you said it earlier on, triumvirate.
Triumvirate. Yeah.
Where does that come from?
So the triumvirate was, again, I could be butchering the pronunciation of that, but back when the Roman Empire the Roman Republic, sorry, was collapsing, there was three guys like Julius Caesar being one of them, and they were the kind of three men in control. They were the three men in command. They were essentially like all powerful leaders, but all three of them kind of worked together. Then it collapsed, and that was the collapse of the Roman Republic. But it was a really big point in history, and that's what they called them. They called them the triumvirate, or however you would pronounce it. There was these three guys that were in power over such a huge thing like Rome at the time.
Just like YNL.
Just like YNL, mate.
Just like YNL, the exact same thing.
Three absolute powerhouses, mate, leading the way.
What is your, because we're like a couple of weeks in now. Your first day was like the 1st of April. Obviously you had Marbella before it, where it was like 4 days over there. What was Marbella like for you being involved in that? And then also, I guess your first like couple of weeks from a coaching perspective.
Marbella was crazy, man. It was brilliant. I mean, obviously I've been exposed to all these boys for a while, but not in such an intimate space. Especially the days of, again, vulnerability. How vulnerable the guys had to be to have their business ripped apart.
Yeah.
Like by so many different guys. There's always going to be an element of ego when you're in a room of other hungry entrepreneurs. You don't want to be vulnerable. You don't want to be broken apart. You don't want to be like in any way, shape or form inferior. But then once you've experienced that type of environment, you realize everybody's there to help you. Everybody is there to help you grow. And I think that's what everybody left feeling, that they were going to be better. In sense of the first 2 weeks with YNL, it's been great, especially from my end and a business standpoint, to see the back end of a business like this. I've really, really enjoyed that, seeing how things are run. Obviously, I've seen it from a client-facing perspective. I've seen it, and we've spoke about different parts of it before, but actually being involved in that and the running of it it's been really cool, man. Yeah,
it's been fucking immense, mate. And I think the Marbella piece also, we've done a training, our first training together at the start of April there. On the kind of like 14 top lessons from Marbella. Any of them that kind of like stand out that you want to touch on?
I mean, just that point that I mentioned there, in the sense of like, to build solid foundations, your business has to be ripped apart in the beginning. Like if guys, and some guys do, they get to a stage where they build really good businesses in terms of, especially like top line, like revenue they're making and everything. But then you look behind the curtain and it's a mess. Whereas you don't have the opportunity to do that as part of YNL, because you have so many guys that are so knowledgeable from business that are literally going through it. They're asking you about every single aspect of it, and then so many guys are being, I don't want to say caught out, they're being made aware of the changes that they have to make, and it allows you to then build solid foundations, so that when you do come to the scalability standpoint, it's not just going to collapse from underneath you.
I think a few components on that, like one, I remember having a conversation with one of the lads before who actually wasn't going to come because his challenges were mainly personal, and I was like, I promise you, brother, like there's going to be over half at least here that are going to be more personal, as opposed to, and when I think back to the Barcelona retreat, I think there was only one that was actually focused on scaling a business out of, I think it was like 9 different people spoke at the Barca retreat. Only 1 out of 9, every other one was personal. And it was in Marbella, I think it was more like kind of evenly split, but so much of like that weekend was spent on the why piece, like why are we actually doing this in the first place? Because a lot of these guys are doing such good revenue numbers, profit numbers, that they it's beyond money at this point, in terms of like they're paying themselves enough to tick the Maslow hierarchy of survival and continue to move forward. But you start to run into some really big fucking challenges. You need to have a strong enough why of why you need to fucking push through them and scale. Which is
I remember that Viktor Frankl quote. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it's basically like a man with a strong enough why can overcome anyhow. Something along the lines of that. I mean, I've known that's been ingrained into me for years. Like my why, I mean, that's why I'm so big in the values piece. Because for me, it's like everything has come off of a very strong reasoning. I don't do things without intention. I don't do things without purpose, because I know where it leads, like to a lack of fulfillment, a lack of direction. And that's the last position I want to be in. But now, having been in that position before, that's what I feel is one of my strong parts as a coach, is being able to help people navigate through that and help them find more direction and purpose.
I think when you're really clear on your why as well, it's like one of the things you see in traits of those that are really clear on it is they make decisions fast, big decisions, not just
correct
what we're going to have for dinner. It's like these are like life-changing decisions that are happening in a really fucking fast time frame.
Exactly, because it acts as your compass for life. Like the Stoics spoke about this with the 4 virtues, in the sense of these 4 virtues, they believe that if you follow and live in alignment with these virtues, you're going to live the good life, essentially. You're going to live you're going to be a good human being. So they use that as a moral compass. So when they're faced with decisions, they're like, okay, well, what can I practice temperance here? Can I practice wisdom? That's what they were faced with, and it acted as that compass, and that's exactly what your values are. It's direction for you.
I love that shit. You've just kind of struck a chord in me, to be fair, because I'm watching the Vikings just now. Have you ever watched that before?
Never.
It's a lot of it's based around like the gods of like Loki, Thor, etc. They currently are using a compass to transfer through the seas, essentially, to find different lands, but also how they operate from an aspect of values is completely based on the values that are dictated by the gods within the books, which is just like, see, actually reading it, just to go back or like listen to it, reading the Dose Effect as well, hunter-gatherer times in terms of how we actually operated as humans compared to now.
Correct.
It's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah. I think that's why so many people struggle, because they don't have any idea of the type of person they want to become, so they have nothing to base their decisions off of. So when they're faced with a decision, they don't know what to do because they don't know what they want. So that's, again, what I help people figure out is what they want in life in terms of from both their physical self, but their mental self, everything.
And now from a business perspective.
Exactly.
We're fucking cooking, mate.
For sure are.
What's the, I guess from a YNL perspective, like what is going to be have you got like your own kind of like personal overarching goal? Or is it just completely built into the vision?
So my goal as part of YNL, I mean, from a selfish standpoint, is to become the best coach I possibly can within working with business owners, to translate all the skills that I've had over the past few years with working with business owners, but into a larger scale. Work with as many, provide as much value, have as much impact as possible. Also to build something fucking really special. And that's why I jumped on board, because it's so easy for me to see that happening as part of the vision. So those are big things for me. Yeah,
bro. We're going to fucking crush it, mate. We've already crushed a couple of sessions. You've got your first session tomorrow as well. What is it you're taking tomorrow?
So we're speaking on the values piece. Indeed, in terms of how people can outline the values that they want to determine, obviously, they're both their business and a life that they can be proud of. So,
fucking amazing, bro.
I'm looking forward to it.
Exciting times ahead, brother. Honestly, we're going to fucking crush it. We've been going for like an hour and 15 minutes, around 20 minutes. It's literally fucking flew in. So anything, because part of you visualizing, talking to yourself, was like anything we didn't speak about today that you would love to get off your chest?
Oh, mate, there's so many things I could talk about, but I think we went in a great direction with all that. One thing I just, to come back to that point, I was actually going to mention it, was that Naval quote. So for me, obviously I have this vision of the type of guy I want to become, but my values obviously guide me in life. But this one quote by Naval I love. He says, "A fit body, a calm mind, and a house full of love. These things cannot be bought, they must be earned." And just that whole aspect for me, from a vision standpoint, I can break that down into the sense of, see how I said, obviously the family piece is becoming bigger for me. That quote stood out even more. Like a calm mind, I really don't think people understand how difficult that is to obtain and to maintain, more to the point. A calm mind, being a friend to yourself, being proud of the type of life that you're living. This is all up here. Every single aspect of that. So that's a big thing for me. Obviously a fit body. Another one of my favourite quotes, a healthy man wants 1,000 things, a sick man wants only one. It's like people really don't understand that until it's too late, in terms of how valuable your health is, your body, and then of course you have the calmness of the mind, and then a house full of love, mate. The amount of entrepreneurs I've spoke to who seem like they have it all on the outside, but they do not have any of those three things, it's frightening. A house full of love, a partner that they adore, a family that they want to, that's literally their meaning in life, the purpose that can bring you. It's a huge thing for me, mate. So yeah, just that's a quote that I love, and I think it's a good thing.
Fucking outstanding, mate. Because you're bang on the money. It's like, if we were thinking about, even for us from a podcast perspective, it's like, what are the episodes that gets best clicks? Everything's to do with revenue, everything's to do with money, everything's to do with what's achieved within business. Whereas those three components are what literally make up like life itself, and it's what majority of people can go without money, or literally have probably like a small decent fucking salary that they pay themselves, whether it's through business or for a job, and have all three of those things. And I think you're one of those people as well. I always think back to one of the Pathway Group sessions a good 2-3 years ago, and you were getting challenged on money so deeply. You were like, why do you not fucking want more money? Like people in the call were literally like pushing you, and the straight shooting, just like from a monetary standpoint, like what else would I gain beyond what I've currently got?
And I honestly don't people face that. Like I know I'm going to have money. I know I'm already in a very good position financially at a young age. But like in terms of what I'm going to do in life, I'm not feared of that, because I think people, they then cultivate that kind of scarcity mindset because they want money so bad and they're chasing all these numbers. They're almost scaring themselves away from it.
Yep.
Whereas I have this abundance mentality towards money, and I know that it's going to come. If I provide the value that I'm trying to provide, it's going to come down the line. If I'm building things like this through a coaching perspective, through YNL, that's going to come with time. So I'm in no rush for that. That's obviously something Stoicism as a whole has helped me cultivate, is that attitude towards that. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
I have everything I could ever need right now.
Biggest component on that's probably the rush piece. What people want to achieve as much as possible in as little time as possible. How, I guess on that component, I guess just expand that a little bit more. How have you became more at peace with money not coming on, like almost like on your schedule? This is on the kind of external schedule of like, it's going to come. I don't know when it's going to come, but it's going to be here. Like, how have you developed that?
First of all, through skills, like becoming better, and then obviously as income increases over time, as the more I can charge and things like that, the better feedback I get. I have the confidence that like I can provide a ton of value here. I can charge good money. Like, this will come with time. This will scale. I'm working, obviously, because I've seen the progression over the years. It's not as if I've just stayed exactly where I was. I've seen the progression both in business and with myself. So it's inevitable. It's going to come. The other thing is just, again, realizing what I truly want. Because people just like default to money. I want money. I need money. Why? Ask yourself why. Say, listen, some people have a great reason. Money solves money problems. I totally get that. Money is going to make your life better. But there are so many aspects that people just don't unravel because they truly don't know what they want. And once you realize what you do, I think money, yes, becomes a mechanism for helping you achieve these things, but it doesn't become the utmost thing that you need, the only thing you need.
I think we should do a joint podcast on all of Naval's quotes.
I think we should.
Reference them and unpack them.
I've got them on lock. Mate, I can file them out. Yeah.
I literally, just as you were saying that, the importance of he's like, well, go and get rich first, solve all your money problems first, and then you'll realize all the problems that you actually have beyond that.
You see, I remember he said one. It's like, if you're not happy with a coffee, you won't be happy on a yacht. It's like, shit. But again, it's just putting in perspective. Like, people can't appreciate all the things they have in life currently. And then they think that, oh, when I have money, I'm going to appreciate that. No, you're not, because you're going to have the same shit attitude when you have more money.
Nothing but facts, bro.
But we'll get there, mate. It will happen. And yeah,
we'll run up our 44 quotes on Naval and fucking run that up. That'll be a banger episode, by the way. That'll be fucking unreal. Yeah. But honestly, brother, thank you so much for coming on, mate. It's been fucking outstanding. Impact so much shit, mate. So much value, little traces of value here and there. Obviously, if people want to find you on socials, when I say traces of value, I mean from your actual coaching perspective, where people can find you on socials.
Instagram is the best place. Conor Malone PT is my Instagram handle. That's where I upload pretty much every single day. I also have my own podcast, of course, The Pursuit of Constant Improvement, which is my whole life philosophy embodied in that one phrase. I upload that on YouTube and both on Spotify. Obviously, the clips go up on my Instagram, so probably the best place to start. I
actually forgot about that as well, the podcast development. Yeah, you weren't even for having a podcast, bro. I remember literally being like, bro, I would listen to you every fucking week,
there you
mate.
Go. I know. And then, mate, the amount of like how I've developed as an entrepreneur through that, in terms of like the confidence it's given me in front of a camera, in terms of delivering things, in terms of being more concise, being able to portray value, it's helped a ton.
Yeah. It's fucking immense, bro. Honestly, it's been an incredible episode, mate. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
No problem.
It's been immense. Trips. If you're on YouTube, obviously got episodes rolling out regularly at the moment, and want to kind of push forward more podcast episodes because the feedback has been immense. So make sure you subscribe for more content. If you're on Spotify, be sure to follow and let us know what your favourite part was. And as always, have an incredible day, Trips.